Good morning, friends. How are you, gang? Hello, hello. How are you today? Good morning, everyone. It is hot. Summer is truly here. Everywhere we go. Everyone I talk to, all over the country, even, are just sweltering. So it is my hope you're getting the chance to stay cool today. Morning, John. How are you? Good to see you. Hope things are still busy. I don't know if you're back on the kind of craft show circuit there, or however that works. I don't. That's but I hope things are going well. So, morning, Kristen. Yep. Yeah. So, John, right? If you look right there, that is the new edition, the new wing of the Celtic spirituality here in the office. So I've been dabbling into that with all sorts of fun. So can't thank you enough. Wicked busy, only done. Oh, very good. But oh, coffee is good this morning. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's snuggled up with its little friend over here, over on the other side. But yeah, good morning, Sharon. Kristen, I hope you're keeping cool today. Oh, you'll be in Woolwich this weekend. Very nice. That's great. Good news. Uh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We'll going. I get a few other people coming in. We'll get going here in a second. Hope everybody is finding their way. If you, I encourage you, if you didn't have the chance to hear our friend Eric, um, Andrew Brazzi, who was the missionary from China. Um, his message is posted on the wall, and we also recorded our little Q&A with him, and that we can make that available to you. So if you would like to see some of that, just shoot us a message, and it's really tremendous what what he has done and what he continues to do in China. He is and his hunger and zeal to get back there. It's really amazing. Uh, Good morning, Sherry Ladd. Hi, Donna. So glad you're here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So good to see everybody. And I want you to just appreciate. Here we are, this last week of June, headed to July, on this 11/11 on the 29th day of June, on this Tuesday. So I want to start us out this morning by this this moment at the Last Supper. So I just want to orient us that all the disciples are gathered for the Passover feast. They're having dinner together. They're having the high dinner together of Jewish life. And here Matthew records this. He says, when evening came, Jesus was reclining at the table with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." And they were sad and began to say to him one after the other, "Surely you don't mean me, Lord?" And Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him that he not be born." This instinct, I want to talk today a little bit about this instinct to say, "Surely not me," because part of this is recognizing that it, the disciples are actually at what they perceive to be the high water mark. Are actually having success. They have come to Jerusalem. Everybody's, yay! Jesus is here. Everybody's excited. Things are going well. This whole notion that the Messiah, this liberator, may be here and it may actually be Jesus. He has been spending the week standing up to all of these forces that have been encircling him and outsmarting them and creating chaos, flipping over tables. Like, they're excited. This is a good day. And now we're at Passover and that it's going to be awesome. Now, they don't know that which is coming. They're actually at this, nearly everyone there is flying high in this moment of success. And then he says, "One of you will betray me." And they say, "Surely not I, Lord." I'm going to talk about this because I think this idea that we end up is one of the most poisonous in many ways to the spiritual life. That nothing will destroy us faster in life than some success. That it's not our failures, it's not our being beaten down, it's not the things that are seek to sabotage us that will truly take us away from the spiritual life and that will truly can get us into trouble. Because when we're taking punches and we're taking blows, there is this way in which we can rise to that, and we often do. And there is this way in which we can cling to God. We can seek out that which is larger than ourselves and try to keep relations with it. We can call upon all the virtues of hope and strength and courage and fortitude to sustain us in our efforting when we are struggling. But when things start to go good, like when things start to actually get to a point where we're having some success, oh, look out. That's the quickest way for us to end up in trouble. It's the quickest way for us to and it's the quickest way particularly I think for our relationships and our team and our group and the folks who we move through this world with to shatter. I mean, you see it all the time. There is entirely too many examples in sports to really to begin to even map it out. That you have all of these players that can never play on the same team. Shaq and Kobe can't play together. Like that all of these, and we think about it as these kind of big egos and inflated egos, but they're only inflated egos because they've had some success, right? They're not inflated egos because they just kind of walk onto the scene and say, "I'm great." Like, no, they have actually attained some greatness. They have done something that is actually worthwhile, and that they have made a contribution, and that the team starts to make a contribution. And you've probably seen this. I mean, we see it all the time. One of the most studied groups of people are people who've won the lottery, and that they get this windfall of all of this money, and they have this success, and all of a sudden they end up what the Stoics call. We've been spending some time in the Stoics, so I'll come back to them. What the Stoics call the disease of me. Like, they're like, Surely not me, Lord. Surely not I would be the one to betray you. I would not be the one to betray the cause, the group. But it's this whole idea of, you know, and there's wonderful examples of it throughout history about how, and one of them is George Marshall. George Marshall's an amazing guy. He is the general that you've never heard of, but runs the entire World War II effort. And there's this way in which that, and I want to talk about him just for a minute, because we to understand that Marshall again and again and again just would has this ability to kind of check the disease of me. He was always kind of working for the greater good, right down to the time when the Allies came to the D-Day invasion. You know, we look at this history stuff and we think like, oh God, that was, you know, you know, we think of it in these big myopic terms, and but we forget that these were things done by human beings who had egos, who had ideas, who had thoughts, and who had beliefs about how good they were or bad they were. You know, we're famous to talking about General Patton and his ego and his, you know, pearl-handled 45 pistols, and MacArthur and his, you know, his signature hat that he had no business wearing, and all of the, all you know, all and his flight jacket and all that. You know, these kind of big puffed up egos and ideas of people. But then you have Marshall, who on the edge of D-Day, on the edge of the fact of the largest amphibious invasion that's ever going to happen, Roosevelt turns to him and offers him the job to run it, and says, General Marshall, you should be the guy to run this. You're the most senior general in in all of the United States Army. But what Marshall knew is that Eisenhower actually had the skills. Eisenhower had the ability to be able to keep together all of the disparate forces. Eisenhower was a great logistician. He understood the power of the logistic effort that had to be done. And not that Marshall was not immune from the idea of being the number one guy and having his name plastered across the papers, and to have receiving the accolades. He was not immune to that, just as any of us are not immune to that. But he said, no, Eisenhower's the right guy. And he declines the thing that would make his name the most famous name we would ever know when it comes to World War II, arguably. When Jesus and his disciples sit at that table at their perceived high water mark, that this is as good as it's ever going to get, at least that's what they think, that they're gathered, the team is together, and as we know, there is dissension in the team, that Judas has already made the plot to betray. But their initial reaction to say, surely not I, Lord, I think it's one we all have to check. We all, you know, we all have to argue, because in a way we talk ourselves into this all the time. You know, now I just talked about it on a big scale, but I want to talk about it on a little scale with us today, because, you know, we end up in this journey where we can open ourselves to service to the wider good, to being useful in this world, to offering the time and talents and treasures to that which God has deigned us, God has put in front of us to do, whether it's washing the dishes at home, whether it's singing in the choir at church, whether it's our own spiritual and devotional life, whether it's doing a good job in our work, whether it's being a loving grandparent, whatever it is in your kin, in your way, in your wheelhouse right now, whatever is going to come into your day, there are two ways you can come at this. And that when we've kind of had some success in the world, where it's so dangerous for us to think that we, are somehow, we're, and one way to think about it is we are somehow even above the virtues. We absolutely should be respected because we've earned it. Well, no one earned it more than George Marshall, or we should be loved because we've earned it. We should have all the stuff that we want because we've earned it. And this is this is the day, or that we're just that good. But the reality is we never earned the right to place ourselves above the virtues. We've never earned the right to be greedy. We've never earned the right to be slothful. We've never earned the right to break apart that which is holy. But we've earned the right to participate in it, and that's the call. Those little words that those disciples said at the high water mark of their moment of surely not I, are the very words that can get us in trouble when we start thinking about our own relationship in the wider world. We want all the things. We want all the stuff. We want to be the one who is recognized, and that when we've kind of had a little moment, we think we deserve it. But what we truly are and what we truly deserve is the ability to participate in this grand creation. If you ever worn an army uniform, if you ever seen one, there are two sides to this, to an army uniform. On one side, it says U.S. Army, and that is the larger and greater part of the thing that you're a part of. On the other side, it says your name, and so that people know who you are and they can call you by your name, so that you have U.S. Army on the left and you have your name on the right. And the greater question is whatever you're a part of, whether it is your family or the army or your church or your job or your relationships in the wider world, or you are being a friend, or you're being a disciple. You're trying to follow this Jesus guy, even in the deep parts of our spirituality. There's this question of who are we going to serve? Like who? And that our indignation around was, surely not I. Well, surely I. Quite actually, surely I. Surely I have a tendency to want to serve the Stinson side of the uniform versus the call side that God would have us step into and be a part of and to love into creation. It was actually Eisenhower, not Marshall, but Eisenhower was a great disciple of Marshall's. He was actually one of the guys that Marshall brought in at the beginning of the war because he knew of the skills and the talents that Eisenhower had. And it was Eisenhower that said, you'd be surprised what you can get done in this world if you don't care who gets the credit. We all need to be loved. We all need to be honored. We all need to be noticed and seen for who and what we are. But just in the way that Jesus says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The way to truly be seen, the way to truly be known, the way to truly offer our gifts to the world, is not to always and ever be promoting the Stinson part of the world, be promoting my agenda, my peace, my ambition, my glory, certainly Marshall had all those on board. You don't become a five-star general by just kind of like taking the back row. But what you do become a five-star general is by taking on the hardest of assignments, the hardest of usefulness, the hardest of difficulties, and working to serve the larger good, the greater good, rather than your own self-promotion and your own being. His wife said of Marshall was that he was just like everybody else. He had all the same things, except what he had on board was that everything he thought was tempered with an idea of selflessness. That how does it serve the other thing that I'm a part of, whether it is the army, the church, our family, our walk with God. How is it going to be useful in this world? Whether it's sweeping a floor, whether it's serving a meal, whether it's loving a child or an old person, whether it's walking in this life that is so abundant with God's grace and God's goodness and God's mercy, will we seek to serve it? Or will we, as the disciples, to clutch our pearls and say, surely not I, Lord? My hope for you, friends, is that you'll step into these words of the Apostle Paul. He says that whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do all for the glory of God. Do what you do. Love what you love. If you need to self-promote, even self-promote. But do it with this eye towards building the kingdom, towards sitting at the feast with the master, rather than wondering what bad thing will come next. Do it with this notion that you have not a world to conquer, not a universe to be in charge of, but you have a world to participate in and to be a part of as a created being made in the image of God, as the image of God, to be able to go forward and offer your unique and beautiful stamp on any and everything that you will touch. That's the power of these days. That's the power of looking when we get to this little point of success where things start to be a little bit better, and these moments when we have this chance to fill ourselves up like a big puffer fish to serve the Stinson side of the uniform, or to serve the greater good and the greater and wider. And that the joy of our lives, this is the hard reality, the joy of our lives is actually not in those moments when we are aggrandized or we are lifted. Not that that isn't great, but that wider and eternal thing of having made a difference, of having given service, of being useful in the very heart of difficulty. Well, that, friends, that is what makes all the difference in this world. All right, gang, that is my hope for you this morning, and I'm so glad you're here. Bill, great to see you this morning. Wayne, so glad you're with us. Audrey, how are you? Good to see you this morning. Glad everybody made it along. I wish you peace and grace. Tomorrow, uh, stay tuned. I'm doing my very best to get schedules moved around so that we'll be here tomorrow. So I can't make 100% promises, but you will look for me. I'm going to do I'm doing all my best to move things around so that it's just one of these one-off things that is beyond my control, that of whether or not we'll actually have an 11:11 tomorrow. But I'm going to do everything I can to be there, and we will. And if not, well, we'll definitely be here on Thursday. So I just want you to know that if you don't catch us tomorrow, it's only because it was just unavoidable and we couldn't make it. So, well, but with that, peace and grace to you, my friends. Have a great day. Stay cool. Let the let the disease of me, like the little, like a little me disease, let it wither on the vine, and be useful in all you are and do. And in that, you will know that great promise of God's eternal happiness. That is the promise. All right. Peace and grace, my friends.